Good Wednesday evening, listeners, and welcome to another edition of Conversations of a Sistah here on YouTube. I thank you for those who may be tuning in and joining me tonight for tonight's conversation. As I stated in my brief, intro this week, I did talk about how there is a lot going on in this country and the temperature on the political front is quite hot. In great news, we had the Eagles who won the Super Bowl on Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs. Oh my gosh, I was just so happy about that because I think to win the Super Bowl three times in a row was a bit much. And who's not tired of that? It was time for another team for us to see their talents displayed. And I was so happy that the Philadelphia Eagles won the 2025 Super Bowl. So everybody's talking about that halftime performance. But before I get into that, there is a lot going on in the country. There is a lot that is happening on the political front. The biggest news today was about Mayor Eric Adams of New York, who basically had, I'm going to say he had the DOJ, the Department of Justice, out of Washington intervene in his New York bribery case. Now, if you're following the news and you're following everything that's being said about this situation, Mayor Adams, he was found guilty on various bribery charges that he took money in exchange for gifts and other favors from different vendors who were contractors and builders in the city of New York to have their buildings open, slide through code enforcement for different favors. And the feds were basically moving in on him. And he kept talking about his innocence. And, I like Eric Adams. When he first ran for mayor of the city of New York, I thought he was a great fit. Being a former police officer and having experience with the city, I thought he was a great fit for New York. And I also thought that he was innocent because I think that it's only fair to give someone the benefit of the doubt until you find out otherwise. And what is the saying? Everyone is innocent until proven guilty by their peers. Well, I think that when the whole presidential election started and you had Biden campaigning and Trump campaigning and then Kamala Harris campaigning with Trump, and I think she said that Trump was a fascist. I think that's what she called him. And they had asked Mayor Adams about that at a conference that he attended. I think it was a press conference that he had. And he clearly disagreed with her. He was like, I have to disagree with her. I don't think that President Trump is a fascist. And that just sent red flags just to flying and leaping in everybody's face. Because right away, people automatically saw that Eric Adams was switching sides. He was basically on the fence. You're a Democratic mayor siding with the Republican candidate. So people started saying, wow, he's getting close to Trump for a pardon. Long story short, Trump wins the election. Adams go to Florida to kiss the ring. Everybody was like, he went to Florida to kiss the ring. They started talking about the fact that he went to Florida. Right away, he came back. He did a news conference. He said, yes, I met with President elect Donald Trump, and no, I did not ask him for a pardon. That's what he said. So, what popped up this week? The DOJ, the Department of Justice. And I think that's being led now by Blonde Bondi. I think that's being led by her, Blonde Bondi. He waited until Blonde Bondi was sworn into office and they kind of put a letter together but from the acting DOJ. I forgot the guy's name. I think it's Emil Love. He's the acting DOJ. But the bottom line is from Blonde Bondi's office. But they were calling for the federal case against Adams to be dismissed. So, although Eric Adams came back and said he did not ask for a pardon, he did ask for something. So, right away, that shows guilt. For me, that's an admission of guilt. If you need to be pardoned, if you need Washington D.C. or Trump's administration's DOJ to step in, that means that you're guilty. Right away you smell a rat, and it's all a buzz in the city. You know, you have the great citizens of New York that are disappointed. New Yorkers are literally disappointed because even they can see the big elephant in the room, and the big elephant in the room is you're guilty. So he's been, saying, he's been touting he's innocent. He dragged out all of these black ministers a couple of months ago and did a press conference. They all spoke about how they believed in him and how they feel like he's innocent, but yet he went to the Washington, D.C. Department of Justice to have New York dismiss the case and to dismiss the case without prejudice. So now you have Adams, you're wondering, whose side are you on? Like where are you? Are you Democrat? Are you with the Republicans? Like whose side are you on? So now Mayor Eric Adams, his integrity has been compromised. So what does this do to the immigrants in the city of New York, as well as New Yorkers? They don't trust him. Would you trust him? You don't know what side he's on. So he wants to hold meetings on immigration and how he's going to protect the immigrants in the great state of New York. And they don't want to show up at these meetings. They're like, we're not meeting with the mayor. For all we know, he may get on the phone and call Alazar or whatever that man's name is that's heading the deportation efforts. For all they know, he may get on the phone and call him and have them picked up. They don't trust the mayor in the city of New York. And not only is this the case with immigrants, this is with the citizens in the city of New York, those great New Yorkers. They do not now trust Mayor Eric Adams. And you know what? I don't blame them. I would not trust him either. Because you know what? He went to Trump. He didn't ask for a pardon, but he asked that the DOJ interfere. So now the DOJ interfered. They sent their letter, and that means that Eric Adams is Donald Trump's bitch. Excuse my French, but that's exactly what he is. Eric Adams has handed himself over. So that means that when Trump and the Trump administration says jump, Eric Adams better ask how high. So now you have the DOJ suing New York for violating immigration policies, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. But New York, just like every other state, are going to protect those immigrants who are non-criminal, hardworking immigrants who has weaved their way honestly into society. Because again, at the end of the day, we are all immigrants on stolen land. I mean, really, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for deporting criminals. I'm all for deporting those who come here and break the law. Hell, we have some people here who are terrorists, who break the law, that need to be deported. And I think Trump said something about he's going to even start sending those prisoners from the United States to somewhere, Venezuela, Guatemala, somewhere in prison. He's going to start importing them. Maybe he should, because we have some domestic terrorists right here on this turf. So if we are going to start deporting immigrants, Let's start deporting them all. If we're going to start deporting criminals, I'm going to say, let me rephrase that. If we're going to start deporting criminals, I say let's deport them all, especially if they're not from the United States. And even if they are, if they commit domestic terrorists, like you have these white boys that walk into schools and want to shoot up the schools, that's domestic terrorism. Like you had the white boy that shot the 9 members of that church, that's white racist domestic terrorism. Charity begins at home and then it spreads abroad. That's what I was taught. So let deportation and terroristic charity begin right here at home. If you're going to do one, let's do them all. So now that I got Mayor Eric Adams that off my chest, because for me, he's guilty. And New Yorkers are not going to reelect him. He's done. And as soon as they get a good, strong candidate, Mayor Adams can forget it. He will not be reelected because he's been compromised. And no one is going to deal with a wish-washy politician. We already have politicians now that lie. So now we're going to deal with somebody, you don't know what side of the fence they're on. It's like someone said, one of my friends said, it's almost like you're watching somebody who's in a gang. They can't decide which gang they want to be in, which side of the fence they want to sit on. They can't decide. And after Mayor Adams came back from New York, he ran right to the National Action Network. He did a press conference and a talk there because he wanted them to believe I'm over here, but I'm still over here. No. Mm-mm. You have to let your yay be yay and your nay be nay. And he's in between. And the Bible talks about being hot, cold, and lukewarm. You don't know what he is, but we do know that he's lukewarm. And if he's lukewarm, you got to spit him out. He's not going to be reelected. And yeah, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed because I thought he was innocent. But nah, he's not innocent. He's guilty. He's guilty as charged. And it won't go to a court of law because he's asking for the case to be dismissed. Because he knows that if it went to a court of law, he would lose. Because that is the mounting evidence that they have against him. So, yeah, Mayor Adams, you're guilty. And guess what? You will not win re-election. Now, for what's happening in this country, because right now, our country is in a hot mess. And I understand that, you know, some people are trying to protect their mental health and not listen to the news every day and not hear what's happening and not be too much engaged. But guess what? You need to know what is happening because when it comes down to your bottom dollar, you need to know what is happening. And yesterday, from what we all witnessed, if you witnessed it, Elon Musk, a non elected official, did a press conference and took questions from the Oval Office. While President elect or Donald Trump, I don't even know if he's president, sat at his desk in the Oval Office and listened on intently with his hands folded like a toddler, while Elon Musk took questions that the President of the United States should have been able to answer and facilitate. That is a problem. It's a problem, one, because Elon Musk was not on the ballot. It was Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. And as a matter of fact, where was J.D. Vance? Oh, that's right. He was in Paris. Why? Who knows? But Trump took the press conference with Elon Musk, and Elon Musk took questions regarding the false made up office that he has Doge in the Trump administration. And some of the questions were hard and he could not even answer them. But he did admit that at times he will post stuff that may not be accurate and that it will need to be fact checked. Like, really? So, in the meantime, you're taking over federal government agencies. You are getting rid of aid to poor people in different countries, all in the name of government spending, too much government spending. And in 1 week, he was already paid $7 million. And you have the 5 young people or the 6 young people that are working for him. They're bringing beds into the office. Why? Because they can't leave due to the protests. Like, seriously? It is a problem when you elect someone to office and they have someone else running government other than you. Let that had been President Biden. They were already saying that he was somewhere in the White House asleep. Well, Donald Trump was asleep, sitting right there in front of you in the Oval Office while someone else took questions. My question to you, my listeners, is what's the difference? What's the difference if Biden was sitting there asleep in the Oval Office? At least he didn't have a sidekick. Even if he answered questions slow, he didn't have a sidekick. Even if he decided he didn't want to answer questions at all, he still did not have a sidekick. He didn't have a best friend that was standing next to him, if that's what they are, taking questions. It is obvious to me that Elon Musk stole the election for Donald Trump. I had a friend, a young lady, she sent me a video from the press conference yesterday that was released. And the reporters actually read the lips of Elon Musk, the little son, X, that he had in the Oval Office with him. And X was saying to Donald Trump, every time Donald Trump said something, X said to Donald Trump, "Shut up, you're not the president." That's what X said to Donald Trump. Now, I have the video that they sent me. Yes, that's what it looks like. Even if it's not what it looks like, even if it's an inkling of what was said, that is what's happening. Because it's like Elon Musk is the president of the United States. It's obvious that Elon Musk bought Donald Trump the presidency. And what's bugging me out is that it's plain as day. Not only did Donald Trump admit it in one of his speeches, but it's obvious because of the power that he's given Elon Musk. And if he actually think that Americans are going to roll over and allow it to happen, he has another thing coming. Because the people today, they are not like our ancestors. Our ancestors was Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and they all fought and they all held boycotts. And these are all the things that they all protest. These are all the things that we're going back to. But nowadays, with the way that things are structured, I'm sure that these protests will come swiftly and strong. So that brings me to the third part of the conversation. Because on February 28th, the People's Union is calling for an economic boycott. On February 28th, we will not spend one dime, not on gas, not on food, not on restaurants, not on clothing, not on online shopping. It is going to be an economic blackout. Because after all, the economy can't go unless we, the people, spend our hard earned money in it. You remember COVID when everything was shut down and the economy was suffering, and Donald Trump was anxious to get everybody back to work because he was president then. Well, now this economic shutdown is to shut the system down. And it's to shut the system down completely. It is going to be an economic blackout. of 2025, February 28th, that's a Friday. That's the first one. And we want to see the impact. There's already a blackout on certain businesses concerning DEI. Target is taking a hit. Walmart is taking a hit. A lot of these companies that bought in to Donald Trump's DEI bullcrap, they're taking a hit. And Costco's has reported double earnings. Why? Because that's where everybody's going. Everybody's going to Costco's. And yes, if you don't know what DEI is, it's diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I know people are like, African American people did not benefit from it. They didn't benefit from it. But a lot of companies and people did when it was in place. But not only that, this current administration is rolling back every law that was in place from the 1950s. And that includes discrimination, that includes all protections for people of color and minorities. Yeah. So while you want to kind of crawl into a hole and forget that is happening, you cannot forget that is happening. But the one way to get involved is to think about how you're going to spend your dollar. Because when you think about how you're going to spend your dollar, you are going to see the impact that it will have on this economy. And for those of you who like what's going on, that's fine. Like what's going on, because sooner or later, it's going to hit you. It's going to hit you. It will affect us all at the end of the day. It will, because it's all going to blow up. Because I don't believe until the day I die that right is right and wrong is wrong. And right is going to win every time. And I think what's sad and what's sick is that you got the left saying the right is robbing, and they're mad because, Elon is purging the government. No, he's robbing us blind. He's not even robbing us blind. He's robbing you with your eyes open, because he got you thinking that he's doing this government cleanup, and he's not. He's actually robbing and taking money from these agencies, because there are a lot of billionaires who are depending on these cuts. It's like you got to wake up and smell the coffee, because a lot of people are asleep. And I just talked about the cult last week. When you are not in a cult, you can see the differentiations between right and wrong, and truth versus facts versus truth, false versus fact. You see the differences, and you know my point. But you got to wake up. And if you want to do something, start with the economic blackout. Withhold your dollars on February 28th. And Lord knows, I love my restaurants, and I will support a Black owned or Latino restaurant on that day, because I love my restaurants. I have to have my restaurant food. So I will be supporting a minority business, and that's it. There'll be no shopping. That's it. I'm shutting it down on February 28th. And then the second economic boycott, I believe, is March 2nd to the 14th. That's going to be an Amazon blackout. No shopping on Amazon. They want to shut Amazon down. That's kind of hard for me too, because I'm a big Amazon shopper. But anyway, I'm snapping out of it for the cause. At the end of the day, we have to make a statement. And that's what this is about. This is about making a statement. This is about those thousands of federal employees that are being affected by this Elon Musk and Doge and Donald Trump's charge to clean up corruption. Corruption cannot clean corruption. There's a way to do everything, and you're supposed to do things decently and in order. And this was not done decently and in order. So it makes you wonder why companies fail. It makes you wonder why companies lose people. And Elon Musk is going about Doge as he would Twitter when he took over Twitter. He's doing the exact same thing. And it's not going to work because federal governments are contracted. They are tenured into these positions. And to just get rid of the positions are against the law. This is why you've had several attorney generals file all of these lawsuits. There's lawsuits coming left and right. And when Donald Trump defied the judge's orders to place a stop on what he's doing, that is when the Constitution is going to kick in. That is when people already know he's going to take it to the Supreme Court. And that is when all hell will break loose. And as far as Kendrick Lamar's performance at the Super Bowl, for those of you who say it was corny, for those of you who say it was garbage, that was because you don't understand art. Kendrick Lamar's performance was a message. It was a message for the temperature in this country right now. It was a message to racism. It was a message to what's happening. And he looked dead in the cameras and he made sure he said, they not like us, along with some other things. If you haven't seen the performance, get it on YouTube. Watch it on YouTube. It was a message in the performance. Serena Williams crip dancing, it wasn't about the fact that she used to date Drake. It was about the fact that she was fined at Wimbledon when she did it. She was called unprofessional. So the platform stated, the platform said, if you're not too ghetto, as Samuel L. Jackson said, we're too ghetto, we're too black. That is why she crip walked. It was a form of art. And if you understand art, the message can be deep. So think about it, but watch the performance because it wasn't corny. It wasn't garbage. You just misunderstood it. It's a message. And the message is for today's political environment. Kendrick Lamar was a genius because he used that platform to speak to what is happening today. People are breaking it down, and they are absolutely correct. People were dressed, black men were dressed in red, white, and blue to represent the American flag. Those people were also split down the middle. That represents the country right now. So if you didn't see the performance, watch the performance. It was definitely a message. And it was a message for this day and this time, this temperature and this moment. But it was definitely a message. And you need to understand the message in order to understand the messenger. This type of performance, there was nothing ghetto about it. This type of performance, there was nothing out of the way about it. It was dead on point. He did exactly what he went to do. And he understood the assignment when he knew that the president was going to be president at the Super Bowl. So you know what? Bravo. Bravo to the performance. And I ask that you take a look at it again, especially if you don't understand. I thank you for tuning in tonight for tonight's conversation. God only knows what next week's conversation will be. And as we delve into Valentine's Day this week, oh, yes, let me not forget to end the note on that. For all of my lovers out there, for all of my couples out there, for all of my girlfriends out there that's celebrating with girlfriends, those who are celebrating with fiancés, boyfriends, and lovers and partners, as long as the love is real, because real love is respectable. And real love shows respect. And real love appreciates. And if you have that, then you have everything. And I wish you a happy Valentine's Day. Until next week, keep the conversations hot because Lord knows I will. Enjoy. Bye.